Hello, everybody. Oh, junk. Sorry for the slightly late. Took me a while to set up, and I'm still working on it. I was kind of balancing my computer on a pile of random junk in previous streams, and now I put away that junk. So I'm like, what do I balance my computer on now? Let me know if you can hear me, if you could. I'm back to using my old laptop. I was using my newer laptop initially, and the video is better. Oh, the video is better, but the sound is much worse. So I'm back to the old laptop because I like the sound a lot better, and I feel like it's kind of like sound is more important in a video like this. Hang on. Forgot you can't have a band-aid on your drafting thumb. It doesn't really work. All right. So I have not spun a single thing since the last time I streamed. I have knit a lot and done some crochet and stuff like that, but I have not spun. I've just been pretty tired. But it's nice to be spinning today. I don't know how long I'll be spinning for. I'll try and give you guys ample warning when I know I'm hitting my limit. Hopefully at least an hour. That's my goal, is 1 hour of spinning. One of my mutuals on Tumblr has been, I guess, either going through the Tour de Fleece tag or queued a whole bunch of posts from the Tour de Fleece tag. That's making me like, I'm really looking forward to Tour de Fleece. I did it last year, but only a little bit. Like it was a hard task last year, but I'm thinking, like, I feel like streaming for Tour de Fleece would be really fun and motivational potentially. So considering that, but that's also multiple months off, so I don't really need to worry about that. So we're spinning this CVM again. Initially, I had been pre-drafting it because you get a slightly better, like slightly neater yarn, but honestly, like not that much neater, like not enough to feel like it's worth it. So now I'm just back to drafting it directly from the bat, which is very messy, but you know, it is what it is. I've spun a lot of neat yarns, and obviously they're nice, but there's nothing wrong with a really messy skein every once in a while. I feel like by forcing myself to work with a prep that I know is worse, like worse quality, I still figure out ways to like compensate for it, and I think it's challenging to draft, you know, which is not a bad thing. I think being challenged and you're spinning every once in a while is not a bad thing. I really hope you guys can hear me. I can't exactly test it myself. Let me know if you can hear me. That'd be super appreciated if you could. Or if the lighting is messed up, like, you know, if the settings are weird or if they're fine, I'd appreciate a heads up. Oh, somebody commented. You can hear me. Sweet. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. So anyway, yeah, there's nothing wrong with being challenged in your spinning, and also pre-drafting this kind of sucked. So this is more enjoyable anyway. So I don't mind, and it's a lot faster. This isn't like some fleeces I really want to linger with. This is not one of them. It's not a bad fleece, but the fact of the prep, and also the fact that it's very dusty, I'm like, I just want to spin it. I want to get it done so I can do something with it. I don't know what. I'm kind of considering So somebody left a really nice like cat box, like box for a cat with multiple head holes and just like a box to hang out in. Somebody left one of those in the trash room at my apartment, and it seems to be in perfectly good condition. I think they're just moving out because they also left a really nice mirror that I snagged. Um, and I think if I made a blanket for the box, my cat would really like it. So I'm kind of thinking like, for one thing, messy really doesn't matter if it's for a cat. But for another, I think she'd like a little blanket a lot. And I've been meaning to make one for her for quite some time. So yeah, I think this will be a little cat blanket or cat bed. If it's big enough, I might stuff it with other wool. Although she might destroy it then because she really loves wool. We'll see. But yeah, cat bed is the idea. Which does take the pressure off, I feel like, because I was kind of thinking like maybe I could turn this into a hat, but then I really gotta figure out this slub situation. If it's for a cat bed, I don't need to figure out the slub situation. So that makes it easier. So I've mostly been crocheting recently. I've been crocheting a bunch of hats to donate and gloves to donate, but also currently working on another bag for myself, or two bags actually, because I somehow have once again run out of grocery bags. Actually, I know what the issue is. The issue is that I keep putting my wool in them of my projects, and then I'm like, oh, this bag is occupied. I can't use it. And then I do that to all of my grocery bags. And yeah, that's why I've made like, I don't know, probably a minimum of 2 or 3 dozen grocery bags at this point, and never have enough anyway. My cat sort of did a number on this also, by the way. It used to look a little bit neater on this side. Now it kind of looks like a cat chewed on it, which is what happened. But actually, she could have been much worse. So that's fine. She's sort of pre-chewing it for when it's her blanket, as one does. I really do want to, I don't know, get to spinning something a little bit more interesting. It's just the prep work for it has been kind of kicking my ass. And I can't figure out a good setup so that you can actually see the colors. And it's like, if you can't see the colors, then what is the point, Like, if it's a naturally dyed thing and the colors are what I'm the proudest of, and they all look like muddy brown under this light, then yeah, I don't know what the point is. So I got to figure that out before I can work on the Shetland Clone Forest cross. I have to figure something out in the meantime. I have been kind of considering, and let me know if you're interested or if that would be a stream that you'd skip. I've been kind of considering doing a bit of hand sewing on stream, because I've been working on a quilt, but the motivation to do it is not really there. And I don't know, I'm such a novice at sewing. Like, I've been doing it my whole life, but in such a, just mending and the most basic of stuff. So I'm still such a novice at sewing that I keep making these really obvious mistakes. And I feel like if I did it on stream, maybe somebody would stop me before I made them. So I'm kind of considering doing that, especially on a day where my legs aren't really working, because I've been having a fair few of those. So that could be a fun stream idea. And then also, I've been considering pulling out my e-spinner again and spinning on that a little bit. I've got this, what is it? It's like a flax and Southdown blend, which is very interesting. I blended it myself. It's odd to spin, but it's interesting. Um, and I've been spinning that on my e-spinner, but the problem is that the noise that it makes is like it's not great. Whereas the noise that my spinning wheel makes is, it's a lot more soothing. It's nice to listen to. So I'm not quite sure about that one because it really just sounds like I don't know, like a drill is running or something. It's not fun. So we'll have to see. But I want to finish that stuff up because I feel like it'd make a really interesting bag. And I started spinning it last year. I don't like having projects going on for that long. So we'll see. We'll see. A lot of things, I don't know, not on the back burner, but like in the works. Well, some things on the back burner, I'm not gonna lie. But also things in the works. My knitting group, there we go. My knitting group, which is actually mostly crocheters, has been very fun of late. We've been getting a lot of people who, they mean to come in and they respond in the group chat and everything, but they keep forgetting the projects at home. So I started sending out reminders the day before to bring your project, put your project in your bag when you get home or something. And that's actually worked really well. And we've had way more visitors, and it has been so enjoyable. It's only half an hour of a very busy, typically stressful day at work. But it's really nice. It's definitely keeping me going. Definitely glad I started that one. I got a new manager at work, and she was talking to me about my schedule and everything, and I was like, the only thing I really care about is please don't move my lunch, because I made a crafting group that suits my schedule, and if you move my lunch, it won't suit my schedule anymore. So, and she said that was fine, thankfully. Yeah. I do feel like I'm getting the hang of this as I spin it. I mean, maybe I'm just encountering a nice smooth section, but I feel like I'm figuring out how to tame the slubs a bit, which is exactly what I was hoping for. I feel like if you just spin nice even roving all the time, or whatever, just work from really nice preps, then you're not really exercising the muscle of problem solving necessarily. You're not really practicing working with messy yarns, or working with messy fiber, And I typically I really like having a nice neat prep, but I'm not super capable of it at the moment, because it's like that second and third pass that tends to really bring it together, and I'll maybe make the second pass but not the third one. So it's not as nice as it could be, but it saves me some work, which is necessary. So I've not been working with the grid stuff. So this is helps me get better at it, I feel like, which is nice. And it's also going by pretty fast when I'm not pre-drafting it. This was painfully slow when I was, and now it's really quite nice and smooth. If any of you have any discussion topics or projects you've been working on, you want to share, or anything like that, feel free to chime in and chat. It doesn't have to be just me monologuing. Although I truly don't mind monologuing. I'm on a lot of painkillers right now, so I could probably monologue all day. Thankfully, they're fairly effective at the moment. But you'll notice I'm in a pretty dark room, and that is because I have a terrible migraine right now. So chat says I have great monologuing skills. Well, thank you. That's very nice of you. Do my best. When I was in high school, I got really into poetry entirely because I had this incredible creative writing teacher, Ms. Carey. She was just so great. Like one of those teachers who's sort of life changing, like opens something up in your brain that lets you keep going in that direction for quite some time. And for me, she did that. She did that for me with poetry. And I was already a poet before that, but not a very good one. And I didn't really know what I was doing or where I wanted to go. And she really helped me hone those skills. And one of the things I ended up quite enjoying as a teenager, less as an adult, but as a teenager, I really liked writing stream of consciousness poems. And that's just where you try and get into a specific zone and then you sort of write your way out of it, And it's interesting practice, but I feel like it's sort of similar to monologuing in a lot of ways. Or my monologuing anyway. You spent the last 20 minutes being mad and not able to get any uptake, completely confused. Your attention thread was just completely disengaged, and it took you that long to notice. Oh, I've been there. If it makes you feel better, I think everyone's done that at least once. But that sucks. I'm glad you figured it out, though. Like, at least it was an easy issue to fix and not something that's gonna plague you for a while. But it sucks when that happens, for sure. I feel like my big one is I won't notice that the drive band, this is like all the way to one side, or that the wheel is all the way to one side. And so the transfer of energy is way less efficient. And I'm like, why am I having to work so hard to treadle? And it's almost always that. Like you'd think I'd just check it naturally at this point, but no, I don't do that. I check it when I have problems, eventually. I feel like this prep would lend itself to long draw, but I cannot do long draw. I just, like, physically, it dislocates my shoulder pretty easily. And conceptually, I have a hard time with it as well. I'm not quite sure what's going on because I can't really practice it, But I do feel like this, if I knew how to do long draw, I could do it with long draw and it would be a lot better. Alas, though. I know there's a way to do long draw where you don't actually extend your arm like that, because I've seen some other disabled spinners talking about it, but I don't remember what they were doing. I don't know the way around it. And to be fair, I'm pretty tired anyway, so something super physical is like not what I want, but still, I feel like it'd lead to a really nice fluffy yarn. At the moment, it's like a mix between, I don't know, very thin spots and very soft, thick spots. And the thin spots are just sort of unremarkable yarn, and the thick spots are really nice and soft and fluffy. But I can't get it to consistently draft thick because there's so many, like the prep is so incomplete. So like getting that consistency is not happening. It has not happened at any point in my spinning of this. I also don't quite know how many ounces of it I have. I might mix it with something else or like ply it with something else, especially because it's going to be for my cat. So I could totally add some scratchier balls in there and she would not mind one bit because she loves scratchy wool. She doesn't really like the soft stuff, to be honest. So, but I'm trying to think of what I have that would really work for that. I guess my like 7-inch staple length Hampshire fleece, maybe. It's not really rough, but it's got quite a bit of particulate that I can't really be bothered to get out. At the moment, anyway. Oops. And I don't think that would bother her. So I might do that. We'll see. But definitely will be this stream. I have quite a bit of spinning left to do. We've got this whole pillow, which isn't that big, but it's not going that fast. So maybe next stream we'll be spinning the stuff to ply with. The other ply of this is almost done already. It's on my supported spindles. I've been meaning to finish it in between streams, but I haven't quite had the opportunity. But yeah, so I've got like 3 partially filled spindles, and those are much nicer because for spinning it on my spindles, I've been carding it into Rolags, so it's actually consistent and even prep for the most part, or at least much better than it was. So we've got that consistent and fairly thin ply, and we've got this thick and super inconsistent ply. And then I feel like one nice thick, fairly consistent ply would really even it all out. And I could maybe even do opposing plies to add a little bit of strength to it, because I have a feeling she's going to be a little rough with it, because she usually is. She likes to dig her claws into stuff. We'll see. The nice thing about doing it that way is I could use some of my undyed, like white wool, and it would not be super boring because I'm not plying it like white on white. I don't know about anyone else, but my least favorite thing to spin is white wool. Like, it's so boring. I can't do it. Brown is fine. Gray is fine. Actually, I really like gray. White? No. I'm not doing that. That's why I got into natural dyeing so quickly, is that, the white fleeces are pretty much the majority of what you can find. And all of the colored fleeces I was seeing were a bit more expensive at the time. And I just, it was so boring to spin like that. I didn't like it at all. So I very quickly got into natural dyes. And I found that totally ameliorated the issue. Just dye it before spinning and it's fun again. Which is one of those things where it kind of makes you wonder, I don't know, did people in the past have preferences like that? I don't really have to spin to clothe myself. I do, for the most part, for accessories anyway, sadly not for shirts and pants, but I don't have to spin to clothe myself. But for most of human history, you kind of did, or somebody did anyway. And it's I just sort of wonder how many people had preferences like that. I don't want to spin undyed wool. It's so boring. Or I don't want to spin rough wool. It hurts my hands. That sort of thing. I always wonder. I also wonder how many people found spinning therapeutic in the past. Because I think a lot of spinners today will agree that we spin because it's therapeutic. Or if nothing else, it's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable activity. And that's why we do it. So obviously at least some people enjoy it, but did most people enjoy it? I don't know. I feel like it can be compared to cooking in a lot of ways. Some people enjoy cooking dinner. Some people don't. Everybody still kind of does it, or a lot of people anyway. The majority of people still do it. But like, how many of us find it engaging? I don't really. I'm always too tired. I like cooking in general, but cooking dinner is like my least favorite because it's always, after 12-hour workday. I'm so tired, and my dinner is usually sleep. I just go to bed. Just too tired for that sort of thing. I do sort of miss having roommates who are not cats because my roommates used to feed me, which was very nice of them. We just make meals for the whole house, really, and I did the same for them when I was up for it. Um, and it was very nice to just come home and like somebody would make dinner at some point. I did enjoy that, but now it's it's only getting made if I made it. Instead of doing any sort of meal prep for the week, I bought 5 packages of rice cakes online. I've been on a rice cake kick recently. They're really like I grew up eating them, so I really enjoy them. Um, just like the seaweed ones, and they help a lot with nausea. And there's no prep involved. Like you just grab a cracker and you eat it. So I absolutely love those crackers, but there's not a lot actually in those. Like there's some nutrients, but I think it's like 70 calories for one, and I just eat a couple, and then I'm too tired. Can't do it. But they're so good. So yeah, I decided to lean into that and buy 5 boxes online for about half the price of what it was at the store. I'm very pleased with myself. She'll be eating like a king who only has access to rice cakes. The normal kind of king. That's not true. I actually made bread on Saturday. I made a loaf for my sister and a loaf for me. And it turned out really well. I'm really pleased with my my bread making recently. I've been keeping notes each time so that I know what I'm doing, and I write down the end results, and then I go through and review and see maybe the higher hydration is working a little better, or maybe I need a little bit more salt, like that sort of thing. But mostly what I found is that what's actually improving my bread is just me understanding it better, like doing it more and understanding it more. It's helping a lot. My first breads with this starter were pretty bad. And part of that's also the starter. Like a young starter is not going to produce good bread. It just is what it is. And the older it gets, the better the bread will be. So the more you use it, the better your bread will be, even if you somehow manage to not learn a single thing the whole time. But in my case, I do feel like I'm learning a lot, actually. I'm really enjoying it. And my current loaves are honestly, the sort of thing you could buy in a bakery. So I'm really pleased with myself with that one. It's not I've been making bread since I was a kid, to be fair, but mostly not sourdough. I've tried sourdough a few times on and off and not had a lot of luck with it until this last time when I did a starter entirely with rye flour. And for whatever reason, it just loves that. It's been really easy to work with. So I've been making bread this whole time, and usually I do whole wheat bread, but not sourdough, just whole wheat, normal yeasted bread. And it's really good, but I want sourdough. Sourdough is a lot easier for me to digest. And also, it's kind of like having a second pet, but I don't need another litter box, So I'm really enjoying just having, nurturing a starter is quite nice. But it turns out that baking 100% whole wheat sourdough bread is very different and much harder than making 100% whole wheat commercial yeast bread. I don't know why. I think it's like, actually, no, yeah, I just don't know why, but it is. And it's been quite a struggle. And my first 10 or so loaves, I would say, were, I mean, edible, but not what I was going for. Is probably an accurate way to describe it. But I'm finally reaching, like, hey, this is what I wanted. This is a sandwich loaf that isn't like stodgy in the middle. So yeah, I'm very pleased. And I'm finally sort of understanding like what it should look like, what it shouldn't look like, that sort of thing. Which is very gratifying to see my results. Ooh, you also make a lot of sourdough. You feed your starter half white flour, half rye, and I really liked that. But you can't get a decent whole wheat sourdough. What do you do / how do you do yours? That's a good question. I feel like it's gonna depend on your starter. Like what works for me may not work for you. But what's worked for me is one, I've been really overproving it, like massively over fermenting my sourdough because it doesn't look like it's rising, So I just let it keep going. But the main thing I think about whole wheat sourdough is that it's not going to double during the proofs or the bulk ferment. It's not going to happen. And if you wait for it to double, you're going to let it overprove. And then when it overproves, it gets stodgy, it gets hard to cook, it gets flat, like all the things you're not looking for in a bread. That's what happens. So the main thing that has seriously helped me is like really, really keeping an eye on the proving and cutting it shorter than I feel like it should be. And then that ends up being the right amount. So if you're having trouble with it, I might recommend like proving it less. Because I don't know, I didn't think my issue was a proving issue. I thought it was like hydration percentage issue because it was so wet all the time. But it's wet because it's overproved. It's wet because the gluten formation has started to break down again. And so it doesn't have the air bubbles, so the water gets trapped inside. So when it cooks, the water doesn't leave, it stays in the bread, and it makes it wet and somewhat gross. So yeah, that's been the problem I've been having. And I fixed it by figuring out how to prove it better, basically. I don't know if that's the problem you've been having, but that's the problem I've been having. And in terms of proving it better, I've been, what I do is I will prove it like most of the way on the counter at room temperature. And then when it's looking, maybe like an hour on the counter away from being proved, I'll put it in the fridge overnight because I don't have time to bake a whole loaf of bread every day. I can do like 1 or 2 steps and then I don't have time anymore. So I put it in the fridge, then I take it back out when I'm ready to bake, heat up my oven, score the bread, let it rise a little bit more, and then throw it in the oven when it still looks like it's underproved. And that is what has been working for me. And honestly, even just like some of my breads are still coming out overproved, but way less so. I was seriously overproving my bread. I have no idea how it was even edible. You'll try that. You were also troubleshooting hydration. You'll try paying more attention to proving. Yeah, I hope it helps. It's hard. Oh, and the other thing, I don't know if you autolyze. I usually don't, or at least I wasn't, because I felt like it wasn't really necessary. But I tried autolyzing. I did an experiment where I had 2 identical doughs, except one of them I autolyzed the flour for 2 hours, and the other one I didn't. And the autolyzed one only needed like 2 stretch and folds to pass the window pane test. And really it only needed 1 to become a cohesive dough. It was basically already there. And then the one that I didn't auto dyes, it needed 4 stretch and folds, and it still was a little bit more shaggy and a little bit more wild. So now I've been autoizing every time, and it's so much easier to develop the gluten. It's crazy, especially autoizing with warm water. First, I was trying it with cold water, and my results were sort of but then I tried it with warm water, and it was like crazy the difference that made. So you could maybe try a similar experiment to what I've been doing, which is, one half of your dough autolyzed, half of it not, and see what happens. Because like maybe it doesn't make any difference to you with your flour, but maybe it makes a huge difference. Like there's no harm in trying. Sorry, water break. But yeah, good luck. It's cool to see other people also doing whole wheat sourdough. I don't know a lot of people who are into that, so that's awesome. It's cool that we have that in common. I've done a couple, like just a few white breads. And so I'm diabetic, so I typically, like, white bread is just, it's not good for me. But I also don't like it very much. I grew up on like Ezekiel bread, like whole wheat and whole grains, and usually like bits of sprouts in it. Because my parents were hippies, so I grew up eating that sort of stuff. And so like white bread is just, I'm like, what am I eating? What is this? It doesn't feel like bread to me. But I did a white bread focaccia a couple weeks ago, and like it was good, but it just wasn't what I was looking for. But the problem was it was so much easier. I was sitting there like afterwards thinking like, man, I am putting up some extra difficulty barriers here for no reason other than I really prefer whole wheat. I do think the rye, though, like the rye is so good for starters. It's the one grain, like the one common grain around here that I didn't try building a starter out of. All those other starters I've done, I would usually either do whole wheat or I'd do all-purpose flour or something like that. And it never worked. It was never good. But this one is like crazy. It never failed me yet. It's a great starter. It's only like 1 month old, but he's doing very well. Maybe 2 months now. I don't know. I made this batch of sourdough discard cookies, like chocolate chip cookies. They were fucking incredible. I think I gotta make some more because I'm getting some discard pile up again. But oh my gosh, so good. It added like this insane depth of flavor to the cookies. And I didn't even have the right ingredients either. I was using like kind of garbage ingredients and my sourdough. And I feel like if I used nice ingredients, it would actually be like chef's kiss, really good. I'm kind of wondering if we're gonna fill up the bobbin. We definitely are. I have a ton of wool left still to spin. So this might end up being two bobbins worth. Alternately, maybe I should save some to card and then spin on my spindles. But I want to cut down on the spindle spinning because my hands are pretty messed up at the moment. And spindle spinning is a lot harder on my hands than wheel spinning. So I don't know. I don't really know what to do with that. I guess I could try emulating my spindle spun yarn. Like I could card it into Rolags and then spin it on the wheel and just try and spin it really fine and tight like the other one is. I don't know. Many questions. No answers ever. Sometimes I just go silent because I'm listening to and enjoying the sound of my spinning wheel. And it's in good form tonight. It sounds very good. I don't know how much of it is necessarily picked up through video, but it's got this like little intermittent purr, sort of this rattle from. I think it's from the bobbin sort of rattling on the flyer spindle. That just sounds so nice. Like it's such a cohesive sound. I just love spinning wheels so much. They're so cool. I'm kind of bummed that I never got to try a great wheel. I guess it's vaguely possible that I could spin on a great wheel using my power chair, but it sounds hard. It sounds very hard, and like I might damage it because I'd be frequently backing up right next to a antique spinning wheel, so that sounds scary. But man, I bet those things sound so good because they're so big, you know. I'm gonna show you this spindle. Things are so dusty right now from the spinning. Let's see. So here's where we're at. Obviously, it's not full yet, but it is full-ish, or at least it's getting big. And that is the amount, well, that plus this is the amount of wool I have left. So I think there's like no way that I'm going to fit it all on one bobbin. But we'll see. We will see. I'm going to have to switch legs though. I also never oiled it. I usually oil it before I spin each time, but I was already so slow and late that I kind of didn't want to. There we go. So I never oiled it, so that's probably not helping, but now I kind of don't want to. So I have to be all leaning over it and everything, so I just have to deal. Did I switch the hook? Yes. Okay. I don't know what that cracking is. It's happened since I got my wheel. Like just this sort of intermittent cracking when I'm treadling. And I think it's coming from the connection bar between my treadle and the footman. That little crack. It sounds, or like it feels, I guess. It feels like something kind of slotting back into place, like it's wiggling out of place with use and then slotting back into place. Which checks out for my wheel. That's my wheel is not well made. It was so expensive, and it's like, I mean, I love it, but goddamn. So that would check out, but like, I don't know. I'm a little worried that I'm doing some cumulative damage here. I hope not. I guess if it broke, I could just glue it back together. It wouldn't be the end of the world. but I don't want it to break. I suppose if it hasn't broke in like 5 or 6 years since I got this, it probably won't break. Probably won't break now. We'll see. Unfortunately, my right knee is not happy with the situation, so might be switching back. Might have to cut this a little short. Hopefully not. But my knees are struggling, so I'll let you guys know. I guess I could always go grab my carders, do a little bit of carding on stream. If my knee gives out, I may do that. Because I've been thinking about it, and I think I do want. I want more roll lags, and I think I don't want to spin them on this. I was going to, but now I'm realizing my knees are more messed up than I thought. So I think I do want to make a couple more roll lags. So maybe I could just fill up this bobbin and do a little bit of carving. That's probably what I'll do. So probably like 20 more minutes of spinning, if I'm lucky. We'll see. It's been nice streaming again. I didn't do any streaming or any spinning the entire break between now and my last spinning stream. I haven't done any. I kept thinking about it, but then I don't know, like, I'm actually I really enjoy spinning on stream. More than I enjoy spinning alone, I think. Because it feels more communal, you know? Like, it's how I enjoy knitting in my crafting group more than I enjoy knitting by myself or, like, on the bus. Like, even though I usually don't say anything, I usually just hang out and work on my project, occasionally offer advice. It's still just like so therapeutic, and I kind of feel the same way about spinning on stream, because it's hanging out with other spinners mostly. It's very nice. So the motivation is just sort of not there at the moment to spin off stream. So haven't been. A while ago, because I have no motivation to do that either. I don't know how exactly I would deal with the camera angle situation, because I'm not super interested in putting my face on here. I don't have my face on mine. I'd like to keep it that way. But like, I don't know. There's got to be a way to do it, and it'd be really fun, I think. So might have to see what I can do. I don't think I'll be going into work tomorrow due to the terrible migraine situation and the fact that I've gotten like 2 hours of sleep in the last 3 days. So due to that, I'm not going into work tomorrow for sure. And I might stay home and do another stream. A couple of things I need to do, like medical things, but I bet I would have time for a stream. So yeah, maybe I might even do a stream tomorrow, potentially sewing, probably spinning. Just because I'm in the groove of spinning at the moment, but I want to get back into the groove of sewing. I would need to do a tiny bit by myself because there's a couple things I got to figure out. Because I made some poor choices, as in did not pre-wash my fabric before I sewed it, and some of it shrunk and some of it didn't. So yeah, I gotta fix that before I can really do any sewing. I don't know what to do about it. I mean, it's a quilt, like inherently it's scrappy, so I don't think it matters if I just add a border to each square. Like, it's a little stupid, but you know, it'll do. But I need to figure out the dimensions of that and everything. I could probably get away with just doing like an L shape, like not fully, not doing a border around the entire thing, but just doing a border around like two sides of it. That'd be way less sewing. I got as far as cutting out some squares and sewing a fair number of squares together into blocks. And then I washed one of those after realizing I may have made a mistake. And I did indeed make a mistake. And two of them shrunk and two of them didn't, and it looks very bad. So yeah, I really just gotta sort that whole situation out. But I could always like assemble squares that are made of the fabric that is pre-washed. Because like half of my fabric is cotton quarters from Joann's, and half of it is clothes or sheets or something that has definitely been washed like 50 or 60 times minimum. So some of it's shrinking and some of it isn't. But if I just work with the stuff that I know is not going to shrink, you know, that might work. We'll see. I really like sewing, and I really like my quilts, so I'm going to keep going with that. But I'm just, like, I'm not super used to being really bad at something. Like, I don't step out of my comfort zone often enough that I'm doing new things and being bad at them. I like getting better at things that I'm already okay at. That's my preference. And so when I'm just consistently incredibly bad at something over and over and over again, like I am with sewing, and showing no signs of improvement, like I am with sewing, it's a little odd. It's a little bit demoralizing. I think because sewing is so much math and so much precision, and I am not good at math and I'm not a precise person. So I think I have that working against me. But there's a couple of crafts like that. Like, I've been trying to learn null binding for literally years at this point, and I take a stab at it multiple times a year. And I never get anywhere with it. There's just like this block that I can't get past. I made like a couple of tiny little partial bits, and I just, yeah, it's hard. Huge kudos to people who can, because it looks very complex. It's very impressive. We're getting there. Slowly getting there. I usually have a spinning rug underneath my spinning wheel because it likes to sort of wander away. Like, the effort of treadling on it makes it just slowly get pushed farther away from me. And it happens slowly enough that I don't realize that I'm in a very bad knee placement position until I've already messed up my knee. So it's not ideal, but I can't actually do that here. Like, I can't have my little rug underneath my spinning wheel because it gets covered in VM, either from me picking it out and just carelessly dropping it on the floor like I do every single time, or just from it like flying out of the yarn while spinning. And I don't have a vacuum, and like I'm about 3 minutes from the outdoors. Like it takes me a while to get outside and downstairs. And normally, you get a dirty rug, you just go outside and shake it for a while. But like I can't actually do that here. I can't carry it outside. So I have to keep my rug free from VM, or else it will quickly become unusable and very pokey and gross and dirty. So my spinning wheel is indeed wandering away from me. I've been like scooting my chair forward by also rocking a little bit, because I'm in a rocking chair right now. But then, then I'm slowly moving across the screen, out of frame. This is not ideal. I could probably put felt pads on the bottom of the legs of my wheel to stop it from doing that. I'm just very lazy, so I have not done that. But I probably could, now that I think about it. Or maybe felt pads wouldn't work. Maybe just like sort of silicone pads or something. It's hard to say. I don't know. The problem is that to do that, I would have to get on the floor and hold my wheel up. And I just don't see that happening without either me injuring myself or me damaging the wheel. So maybe I can get my sister to do it for me. We'll see. I do think that would actually be really helpful, though. I don't know. I learned to spin with a spinning wheel on carpet, and I didn't realize that this could possibly be an issue until I moved to a place that had hardwood floors, and I was like, oh my god. This does not work at all. Here's a particularly wild section. Hang on. It's the best way to... Yeah. You can see full bit of lock in there that just was never opened up. I don't know. I could be more careful with spinning, but I'm already putting so much effort into this. I don't really want to be even slower about it. So I'll just let it have tons of slopes, but yeah, that's what I mean when I say it's incomplete prep. If the locks aren't all open, if you just straight up have locks in there that are still completely in lock form, then that is incomplete to me. Not to whine about it, but I don't know. I personally would not sell a bat in this condition. Maybe I'm just being a bit of a snob, but I would not. I'm a little annoyed that I bought it. I mean, it spins up fine. It's not a big deal, but I don't think it's prepped, if I'm being honest. I don't know if you can actually open up wool like that on a drum carder. I kind of suspect that if you're working just with a whole fleece and you throw it on a drum carder, I think it's going to miss bits over and over again. I don't know. I say that as someone with very, very little drum carding experience and none of it raw fleece. But I've hung out with a couple of spinning friends who have drum carders, and they were letting me use it and everything. And we were talking about it, and they never had luck opening up fleeces on the drum carder. You have to do it by hand, it seems, and then toss it on. And I'm guessing that the Shepherd, because I bought this directly from a Shepherd, and because they aren't a spinner, they didn't, they had no way to test it themselves, which is too bad. It is spinnable, but it's, I don't know, it doesn't really do the wool justice, because this is really nice CVM, but it's so fucking dusty and grimy, and incompletely prepped that it's spinning up to a very ugly wool, which is like, man, your sheep deserve better than that. The dust is also very annoying. Like, just wash it better. My hands are covered in dust right now. They're very caked. It's kind of gross. I'll get over it. It's fine. But I am like, oh, I've been missing some comments. Mika asked, how do you like the CVM? Sorry if you said, I just joined. I like it. I mean, this is my first time spinning CVM. Like, this is my first CVM fleece. I'm from California, so I think I'm like inclined to like it because, you know, CVM stands for California Variegated Mutant. So as a fellow Californian, I'm like, hell yeah. But this particular fleece I don't like very much. As you've just heard me loudly and completely complain, I don't think it's been prepared correctly. But it kind of makes me want to get just like a full CVM fleece that hasn't been touched and do my own work with it. And I think I'll have a really good time if I do that. Because it's really like, it feels kind of like a blend between, I don't know, Shetland and Southdown almost. Like, it's a little bit spongy, but it's also very fine and soft. It reminds me of Spanish Merino, actually, is what it reminds me of, which is really different from, I don't know, standard Merino, I guess. Like, Spanish Merino is very spongy, which I really like in the wool. I don't know why, but it's a great texture. So I'm really enjoying the texture of the wool, but it's hampered by all the dust on it, which I'm really not enjoying. The problem is I don't know how to wash bats in a way that doesn't destroy them, so I didn't wash it. I'll just have to really wash the yarn. So we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. You always pick open a fleece or flick it open before putting it on the drum carder. You see people just shoving fleece right through the drum and it hurts you. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Like, I just don't think that's gonna work. Maybe if you reprocess it repeatedly, but then like you're just adding wear and tear on your drum carder and wear and tear on the fleece, potentially causing like neps or something, potentially breaking things. Like, I just don't see the point of that. It feels like a poor choice. But I don't have a drum carder. Like, I'm not experienced with drum carders, so my opinion does not carry much water, to be honest. Yeah, I do want to try another CVM though. And like the colors are really pretty too. It's sort of got this like, I don't know, reddish mousy brown, if that's a color. That's the main color. And then there's bits of cream in here from cream colored locks, and it's really pretty. Really nice. I don't know if this, like, I don't know how old this one was, or whether this is what CVM is usually like, but I've heard people describe it as soft. So I think this is a pretty standard CVM that was just handled incorrectly. It hurts me that I can't wash this. I've tried washing bats before. It doesn't go well. Even if you don't felt it, which I've never felt it, but like nonetheless, it just needs to be processed again. You can't wash a bat and then use it. Like, it's if you're gonna do that, you have to reprocess the bat. And there was no way in hell I was gonna put this back on. I'll put it on my what's it called? I can't remember. It's not a drum carder. It's like a little square of that cloth. There's no way I was going to do it on there and make a bat that way or anything else. Like that was too much work. So just spinning it in the dust. There's not really any grease on it, so that's why I say in the dust as opposed to in the grease. I don't know how they managed to get most of the lanolin out, but all of the dust is still in there. Is a little impressive, actually. I don't think that's what anyone is going for when they're washing a fleece, but it is an interesting experience. I will say that. But like I've spun a lot of alpaca in the dust, and I do not enjoy that. I started spinning one blanket like that, thinking like, because I started that way, I didn't want it to be uneven, so I didn't want to process part of it after I'd already spun some of it. So I just did the whole thing in the dust, and it was so gross. I was not a fan. This is definitely nowhere near as dirty as an unwashed alpaca blanket, but it is pretty dirty. That's the color of the CVM fleece you have too. It's so crazy dusty though. It made your lungs hurt when you combed it. And there's still VM in the wool. Interesting. Maybe CVM is just like this. Like, because that's how Southdown is. Southdown almost always has grit in it. I have never found either processed or raw Southdown that didn't have grit in it unless it was combed. Like that's the only way to remove the grit is to comb it. I don't know how well that would work for CVM though, because removing dust and removing grit are two very different things. Very different indeed. That sucks though. If it is just like that, that's unfortunate. Maybe they just really like bathing in dust. I don't know. You think it's the crimp, it just holds onto stuff so well. Yeah, that would make sense. That's how it is with Southdown. Like the crimp and the thickness. Grit gets in there and then it just never comes back out. So I guess maybe this is just another one of those breeds. That's too bad. Still worth working with, but unfortunate. I don't really know the best way to get rid of dust other than, washing it. But if the fleece itself really grabs onto the wool, or really grabs onto the dust, then like, what can you do? That's a hard one for sure. I was going to reserve some of this for my spindle, as previously discussed, and now I'm realizing I actually won't fill the spinning wheel, or I won't fill the bobbin if I don't do that. Like if I don't put all this wool on here. So I'm going to put the last of it on, which is this. It's a fairly thick, there we go, fairly thick strip of the bat, but I figure let's just finish it, We'll just finish it up, and then next stream, I will either we'll either start plying it or we will spin another ply for it. But I'll need to figure out what I want to spin because I don't know yet. I don't know if I have anything that will go well with it. We'll have to see. But if I do, then we'll probably spin another bobbin's worth so that I get a 3-ply. And if I don't, then we'll probably just ply it next stream. Hopefully I would like to stream tomorrow, but it depends on, there are multiple errands I need to run that I was supposed to do this weekend, but I was just too messed up to do that. So depending on how those go, I may or may not have the energy. So I don't want to promise that I'll stream tomorrow, but I will try. And if not tomorrow, potentially the day after. I'm getting the feeling that I'm going to be taking a couple of days off of work. Because my work is like, it's looking at computers all day and talking to people all day. And it's absolutely making my migraine way worse. And until this migraine goes away, it will not be effective. It's really odd, like, I don't know, because my job is, I'm a receptionist at a healthcare clinic. And most of the people who come in are not in good shape. This is not like, come in for your annual checkup, walk-in clinic. This is like a very bad day walk-in clinic. So my patients who come up to me are all having bad days. And I typically am also having a bad day, but I'm at work instead of at the hospital, like as a patient. So like neither of us are at our best, if that makes sense. And so that's just sort of the tone of the interactions I have all day is like, they're maybe a bit rude and mean because they're in a lot of pain, which I understand. And my customer service is well practiced. My customer service mask is very, very good, I think. So I'm not mean, but I am out of it. Like, having good customer service does not remove the brain fog. It does not like remove the neurological disturbance that's going on. So I'm usually pretty fucking out of it. And the conversations I have with patients sometimes, I'll be sitting there afterwards like, wow, that made no sense. None of that made any sense to either of us, okay? It's kind of funny. I don't know. I went to work all last week because I kept having like important things, like things that would be worse if I didn't do them then. Like a meeting with IT and one of our software, like one of the software engineers for the program that we use. Because there's this issue that we've been having, and my coworker, who was the main person working on it, is transferring to a different department soon. And they also kind of like, I don't know, wash their hands of it at a certain point, which is understandable because it's really stupid and frustrating. And the other people, like the people that we're working with who made the software, are really unhelpful and very obtuse at times. So it's like we have spent a cumulative 250 work hours trying to fix this software issue. And not only is it not fixed, but it's now like there are new places that it's affecting, new bits of our software that it's affecting in the same way. So we're actually going backwards. So I had a meeting yesterday with one of our IT people and one of the people who made, like, who helps maintain the software, I guess. And it was like I went to work just to do that. I stayed at work the whole day, but the reason I came into work was for that meeting. And annoyingly, because it was right before an update to our software, he couldn't like change anything. He could just confirm that I wasn't going insane and we were having a new problem, which was nice, but yeah, we didn't actually get anything done, which is really frustrating. The thing that really bugs me is that at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. The only person it affects is me because I clean the data at the end of the day. Like, I'm the one scrubbing it. And the fact that this software issue is happening makes it much more arduous to scrub the data. Like, I'm talking about having to fix 400 entries every single day and just fix like one little box on each of them. And you can't do like a mass fix. You have to fix each one individually. So I just want to stop that from happening. But because I'm the only one affected, nobody else really like notices or cares. So it's not a high priority. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, since I went into work all last week, I'm like, I pushed way too hard, and now I'm just, oof. I need a break so that I can function. I'm hoping that my new supervisor is going to be understanding of my health issues. My last one was very understanding. Um, I don't think my new one knows anything about what's going on with me. And like, I don't really share much medical information at work. I'm like, I don't think it's relevant most of the time. But the migraine thing is absolutely relevant because it deeply affects my work. There's just no way around it. I don't know if she actually knows I get migraines. I didn't tell her, so unless my supervisor told her, who knows? And I haven't called out sick to her yet. I have to my other supervisor, but not to her. So I'm a little nervous. A little bit nervous that she will not be okay with it. I guess it is what it is, you know. Like, I'm protected by law taking this leave, so at least there's that. But it was a little bit nerve-wracking. Let me switch back to the other foot. Maybe have a quick water break. We're almost done, by the way. Just that. About half of this strip of bat. And then I guess I'll pull out the other stuff and show you guys what the spindle's looking like. You know, what's funny is that I talk all day at work and I don't find myself needing water. I mean, like, I drink water, but I don't find myself like cotton mouth thirsty. But then I talk for like an hour on the stream and my mouth is very dry. I don't know why. Just a streamer condition, I guess. Let's see if I can get this in frame a little more. Not that in frame. Sorry for the jerkiness. I'll warn for that next time. My bad. I love when I hit these little cream colored sections. They work so nicely with the brown. It's very pretty. And it's also softer too. It's always interesting when you're spinning a fleece and one color of the fleece is noticeably different in some way, like softer or way more crimped. I find that a lot because I really enjoy buying multicolored fleeces. So that's what I tend to go for when I can, because then I can dye the white parts but it's like most of the fleece won't be white. So there's quite a lot of nice browns and grays to go along with it. So it sort of like removes a lot of the work I have to do. But you really start noticing, like, for whatever reason, the white parts tends to be a lot softer and a lot finer. And usually more crimps too. Definitely on Jacob fleece. I noticed that almost every single time. The white ones will be softer and finer and more crimped than any other color. I've always wondered, I don't know, I don't know much about like biology or genetics, but I assume that's gotta be like a known thing. And it's not just Jacob either. What else have I spun that's multicolored? I mean, this CVM, for one thing, very much is doing that. But I feel like anytime I get a multicolored fleece, that is like always the case. I don't know, it's interesting. it's also really helpful because typically the dyeing process harshes it at least a little bit. Like I try not to, you know, and most of the time it's not super noticeable, but it helps if I take the softest part and then make it a little bit coarser, because then it's about as coarse as all of the rest of it. Ideally, it would all be as soft as the softest part, but it's a fleece. That's not going to happen. That's not how fleeces work. But yeah, it does sort of even it out. So that's very convenient. Because if the white ones were like the harshest parts, the roughest parts to begin with, then dyeing them would it would not work for like a lot of applications because it would just get way too rough. I have some fleeces, especially my early fleeces, but then a couple of just stupid mistake fleeces where I really messed up on the dyeing and it's very harsh. Like to the point where I'm like, okay, I wanted to make a sweater out of this because it was next to skin quality, and now it is like gonna be a bag or something else because it's rough. Which is always kind of demoralizing. But mistakes happen. And there's nothing wrong with making another bag. I'm always pro making another bag. But it's preferred not to do that for sure. I try and keep the harshness to a minimum. There are some fleeces where like there was no additional harshness, and I don't think that was my dyeing method. I think it was the toughness of the fleece. I dyed this Rhea lamb's wool. Rhea is Rya, which I think it's a Finnish breed. And it's very, very robust and very soft. The lamb's wool was. I don't think that the full-grown sheep is particularly soft. It was so robust already, and then I dyed it yellow, or I did half yellow and then half sort of like a coppery orange. It was so beautiful, and it didn't harsh the wool at all. I really want to try Rhea again. I loved the texture. I'd probably go for another lamb's wool if I'm being honest, because it was so beautiful and soft. And I sold the bulk of it, and I kind of regret it now. Now I'm like, man, the things I could do with that fleece. But I think it's in better hands, to be honest. I have too many fleeces. What are we at? Oh, wow. Hour and 20 minutes. That's not bad. That's longer than I thought I'd last, if I'm being honest. We just have the last little handful left. Ooh, and let me show you guys the bobbin. So definitely fuller. Not totally full. I will say my tension on this has been a lot tighter than my last spins. My last spins, for whatever reason, I had the tension a lot lower, and so it was a much more fluffy bobbin, so it didn't fit as well because it's very compact. And it's also pretty soft. I think it will be soft-ish, but I definitely have not gotten all the DM out, I can tell you that much. I don't know, we'll see. I'm really curious how this is going to be once it's been plied and washed, like washed really well. Because I know as soon as I put this underwater, it's going to be like brown water coming out for a while because it's so dusty. But I think it's going to be a nice soft yarn. I still want to use it for my cat, though. I think she'll really like it as a cat bed. Especially because she's been very obsessed with the fleece, or with the bat rather, as I've been spinning it. She's been very into it. So I think she'll enjoy it. And I've been meaning to make her a cat bed for so long, like a hand spun wool cat bed, because she's like my biggest wool fan. She loves wool, possibly even more than I do. She's obsessed with it, and she loves my projects. Mostly, she expresses her love through her teeth and claws, but those are the only tools available to her, so I get it. And I've never made her like a bed. I've made her toys before out of the wool, but I haven't made her a bed, and I feel a little bit bad about it. I certainly don't want her to get too old before I make her a bed, so this is going to be a bed for her, for sure. I think my sister is making another cat bed with the other yarn that I've spun on stream, the alpaca. I gave it to her because I told her I had no idea what I was going to do with it. And she said she'd turn it into a blanket for her cat, who I quite love. Absolutely love her cat. So I think she's making another cat blanket, which makes me happy. I gave her a set of skeins that I spun, a really beautiful and highly sought after on Tumblr, actually, set of yarns, which has been her cat's current cat bed for the last couple of years. But it's getting kind of gross because she doesn't wash it really because it's wool, so she is not a hand wash kind of person, unfortunately, despite all my efforts. So it's pretty only ever been washed by me and not frequently. So it's getting gross. So she's making a new one, which means that everything I've spun on stream so far has been for cats. Certainly not a bad thing, though. I've also noticed that it's the white locks that aren't opened, typically speaking. Like some of the brown locks aren't opened either, but the white locks especially, which makes me think it really must be the crimp, because the white locks are the ones that are more crimped. And so the fact that the drum carder is not opening those ones, it must be because it can't handle the crimp of it. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. I really want a drum carder, but I know it's not actually going to help me because I want a drum carder to process fleeces. And here I am complaining about this fleece that was processed on the drum carder because it's terrible. Like, I want to be able to process whole fleeces on hand tools, and that simply is not going to happen for me. I did do it a couple of years ago when I was much less disabled, but now I just can't do that. It's very frustrating. One of my friends was going to help me process it, but then it ended up failing, and so now I'm like back to square one. I don't know what I want to do with all this goddamn fleece. Slowly spin it, I guess. I have this really beautiful Shetland fleece that is Moritz colored, so that's like dark chocolate colored. It's so beautiful. It's so soft, and it's a lamb's wool as well, and just like everything about it, beautiful. However, a lot of the in it. But I found that if I carded it, like just a rough, kind of terrible card, I got a really beautiful wool out of it. So I'm kind of considering like maybe that might be my next, quite a lot longer than spinning it. So that's one of those things where like I would be carding for 5 hours to spin enough for a 2-hour stream, or to make enough to spin for a 2-hour stream, if that makes sense. Like that's about how much longer it takes to prep versus to spin for me at the moment. It didn't used to be that way, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a conundrum. And it's one of the reasons I haven't been spinning as much, because I don't really buy pre-prepared wool most of the time. The stuff that I have was gifted to me. This one I bought, but like I do buy bats sometimes. I was expecting it to be an awful lot more processed than it is, if I'm being honest. Although the other bat I bought from the shepherd was also incompletely processed. So I probably should have not expected any better. Last little handful. All right. We're done with this part. Like I said, there are still a couple of Rolex to spin on my spindles. But here it is. Look at that. I guess I should actually take it off the thing. Like trying to do it backwards from a totally different angle. Not working. All right. Yep. Here it is. Beautiful bobbin. I'm pretty happy with this, actually. I definitely got better as I went on. Like I got a lot better at controlling it, which was my goal. So I'm pleased with that. But that said, it's less than I thought. I thought we would get an awful lot more out of this, if I'm being honest. Not that I'm complaining. Maybe it's just because I had the tension a lot higher. I mean, that would do it. Okay. Let's see. So it's probably very uneven in terms of how much is going to be on the spindles versus how much is on there. I'm guessing. But, so I have, what is this? 3 Rolags left. Where's my bowl? And I've got, oh wow, this is super thin. I don't know what the hell I was doing with this. I've got 1 spindle that has super fine wool. Like I've spun it really finely. I don't know why. So that's good. I've got 1 spindle that is, I mean, it could fit like double this amount, but this is about the ideal for it. So got that. I've got, hang on. They're sort of unrolled. I spun this like 6 months ago and then moved. So they're kind of a mess. I've got another one that can definitely fit the rest of this. Sorry, I don't know where the hell the camera is. You can definitely fit the rest of this Rolag on it, but probably not a ton more. Hang on. These are all handmade spindles, by the way. That's why I'm trying to show them off. I like them. And then the last one, the cop came off, so hang on. There's like a little cone of tangled wool over here. Just fix it real quick. This actually is thicker than I thought it was, now that I'm looking at it. I think it actually might fit in with the rest of it fairly well. It's just that it has fewer slabs. But the last one is this, which also can definitely fit the rest of this roll lag. And then I have one extra roll lag. So I don't know. The problem, like the reason I haven't been spinning this quickly, or the reason I haven't spun the stuff on my spindles, is that it's a really messy wool, and the only place I have to do supported spinning is in my bed. And I do not want that stuff in my bed. Like, that's not happening. So I almost wonder if I could just put it on a different, like just spin it here on my wheel. Because I'm looking at it now and I actually don't think there's as much difference as I thought between the stuff on my spindle and the stuff on my wheel. Like, I don't know. One of these is a lot finer than the other one, but like I have sections of finer wools. I don't know if you can see. Hang on. Yeah, it might be hard to tell because the resolution is obviously quite bad. But one of these, this one, is an awful lot thicker and has more slubs on it than this one. So like they're already uneven anyway, right? So does it matter? I don't know. What do y'all think? I need opinions, please, if anybody has one. Because I could absolutely just pull these roll logs off, finish spinning them on here, and be good to go. Or I could just keep with them on the spindles and not worry about it. I'm not really sure. I'm leaning towards spinning it on the, not worry about it. I'm not really sure. I'm leaning towards spinning it on the wheel because it will be faster and I could actually do it right now and just get it done. And then next one, like we've at least spun this CVM. I'll give it a minute or two. If you have opinions, I'd like to hear them. You support spin on the wheel and don't worry about it. Okay, that's where I'm at too. I'm thinking kind of the same thing. Normally speaking, if I have a plan like that and I've spun part of it on the wheel and part of it on the spindle, I want to try and stick with it the way that I had it, but I don't think there's a benefit. Yeah. I think we're going to do it. We're just going to finish spinning these last 3 little roll lags. We'll be fine. Because I just cannot spin this stuff in bed. And like, I don't really have anywhere else to spin it. So yeah, let's do it. I'm actually going to oil my wheel this time though, because it's been getting a little difficult. Okay. I'm actually finally starting to run out of spinning wheel oil. I bought this, I mean, it came with my wheel or I bought it with my wheel, I don't remember. So that was about 6 years ago. And it wasn't even full when I got it actually. It was to like here, like halfway, 3/4 maybe. And I'm finally actually running out of it. It'll probably be another year or 2 before I do this. I'm not going to bother ordering more yet. Because knowing me, I will just lose it in the interim. So, all right, let's get this set up again. I'm expecting that this will take 10, 20 minutes. And I think I'm going to wrap up the stream after that, just because I don't know what to do. I can't really pick fleeces right now because I cannot see a thing with my sunglasses and my bad eyes. I honestly can't see very well at all. So this is not a good time to be fleece picking. And that's just not something I know how to do on stream. But it means that the next stream will be nice and easy because we got all this done, which is very nice. I feel like I've been pretty damn productive, I gotta say. I didn't think I'd finish this whole thing. Or if I did, I thought it would be quite a slog, but spinning on stream is just so much easier. Like mentally, it's much easier to stay engaged. I don't know. Do you guys find that it's easier to stay engaged with your spinning while watching a stream, a spinning stream specifically, or is it like more just it's about the same but company? I'm kind of curious. I hope I'm not the only one reaping the benefits here, but I suppose either way is perfectly fine. My attention was not on that ball. Once again, I wonder why the hell I don't have a leader. I mean, I know why. It's because I never learned how to use them. But why did I not learn how to use them? On the other hand, this really does work just fine. Like, all I'm doing is tying it on without a leader, and it's perfectly fine. But I do think it would maybe feel a little more professional if I was using a leader like absolutely everybody else does. Ugh. Very first section is like caked in VM. Oh, Chuck, what a sad little noise. Oh, she's very sad because I'm not laying in bed, which is the only place she ever wants me to be so she can lay on top of me. What is going on? It feels very weird right now. Like, I don't know why, but my spinning wheel just feels quite odd. Okay, I think I fixed it. Mostly. There's like this weird rubbery feeling and sound on the treadle whenever I use it. I don't know why, but I don't like it. It just started too. What happened? Oh, well. Looks like everybody wants to spin on the wheel, so that's good. Doing what the people want. Also what I want. It's very convenient that it has aligned. It's still doing that. That's so weird. I don't know what the hell I did to my wheel to cause the footman to feel so different in between one bobbin and the next, but it is very noticeable. And not really in an enjoyable way. Hopefully it sorts itself out soon. It's making this like rubbery creaking noise too that I don't like. I don't know if any of you can hear it. It's pretty subtle, so I'd be surprised if you could. This is definitely easier to spin. Oh, hang on. Maybe that was why. Nope. It's definitely easier to spin than the bat because it's been processed more, but I didn't process these a ton, if I'm being honest. Like, these are not my finest Rolex. They're just okay-ish Rolex. And it also didn't get much of the dust out, which that's not surprising. It's only going to come out with washing. But point being, it's spinning up easier, but not necessarily better, which is kind of odd. I don't know why. It's a weird fleece. I think part of it is just that I haven't worked with CVM before. And anytime you're using a new breed of wool, it's its own little adventure. So that's probably got something to do with it. But nonetheless, it's quite an odd wool. I like it though. I wish I knew some shepherds who had CVM sheep. Because I feel like If I knew some shepherds, I could probably bribe at least one of them into jacketing a sheep for me and then selling me the fleece, right? Like, I probably could do that. And I really love spinning jacketed fleeces. They're just so out of my price range. But I've been kind of thinking, like, I could probably get it much easier than I could if it wasn't, because there's no VM removal, so that takes out, like, it cuts the prep time at least in half in my experience, and sometimes more. So, but that doesn't help me with any of the fleeces I currently have, and I certainly do not need to go spend $200 on another fleece when I already have a lot of fleeces. But it's an idea for the future, maybe. Just buying jacketed fleeces and working with the easier stuff. It's probably not a bad idea, really. The stream is definitely turning out longer than I thought it would, but I'm pleased because I woke up this morning feeling like I had been hit by a train. And now, many hours and many painkillers later, I am feeling less like that. So, but this morning I was like, oh man, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that stream. I'm very glad I have been able to. It's a nice one. That said, I still have 2 roll lags left, so this is taking me longer than I thought with the roll lags. I think, like, I was looking at them and sort of comparing it to how long it would take me to spin that volume of wool based on how long it was taking me with the bat. But the bat is much less compressed than this is. I don't know if compressed is the right word, but, like, there's not a lot of air in this roll lag. Because it's been squished. I guess compressed is the right word. It's been squished after 6 months of transport and moving and sitting on my floor, so more wool in it than it looks like. Ooh, so I was hanging out with my sister yesterday, and we discovered that there's an Ethiopian restaurant literally, like, right next to me. And we got some Ethiopian food, and it was so good. It was so ridiculously good. But one of the I am not familiar with Ethiopian food, by the way, so it was a new experience for me that was very enjoyable. But one of the, like, main things that was served was, like, this bread. I don't remember the name of it. I know it starts with an I, but it's like, it seemed to me to be like 100% whole wheat sourdough flatbread, and it looked a lot like the pancakes for blintzes or blini, which I've made a couple of times. And I was eating it thinking, like, I could totally make this. I could 100% make this with my starter. And I really want to now because it was so good. It was really, like, it had the sour flavor, but it was, like, almost foamy. It was insanely good. Everything about the food was absolutely incredible. Just, like, perfectly seasoned, perfectly done. Like, clearly they know exactly what they're doing and doing it wonderfully. I'm honestly thrilled because they sell, like, half servings for $7.50. And that's, like, cheaper than anything around here. If you want a meal, like a good meal, $7.50 is going to get you nowhere. So I'm so happy to know there's this incredibly good vegan Ethiopian place within reach that's very cheap and serves half servings. I'm so happy. Delicious. It does not go well in takeout containers, though. Not a cuisine suited to take out. Took it out of the containers, and it had only been in there for literally 5 minutes, if that. Still very edible, though. I can tell you that. Oh, injera, yeah. Yes, it's so good. I think the way that they spelled it on their website was like INGERA, something like that. I mean, I'm sure there are many ways to render it in the Roman alphabet, but yeah, so delicious. So good. And it seems like it's very doable, given that I already have a starter. The only thing is I don't know how they got it so foamy. It was like so incredibly silky and foamy. I don't know how they did that, but it was delicious. And like, I really like it reminded me of, like I said, the pancakes or whatever for blini. But those ones, like, for whatever reason, I have trouble making blini. And the flavoring of it is like not really suited necessarily to everything, the flavoring that I use. So the idea that I could like make these and then, I don't know, put whatever the hell I want in them, like scrambled eggs for a little like breakfast burrito, but instead of a tortilla, it's injera. Yeah, that sounds really good to me. I don't know. One of them was this green, it was straight up just green beans, right, that had been cooked and then placed in injera. But whatever they cooked it with, or whatever seasoning they used, is like insanely good. I don't know, all of the food was just incredible, but that one especially was delicious. Yeah. So my first experience with Ethiopian food, and incredible. Definitely eating more Ethiopian food. I like that it was vegan. I'm not vegan, but I am lactose intolerant to a pretty high degree, and I don't eat meat. So vegan is like a close enough descriptor of my diet, I suppose. I eat eggs though. Sometimes they're really expensive right now, so I don't actually eat that at the moment. But. We're about 1.5 rollags in, and it's not much. We're also only like 3 bumps into the hook. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'll show you all before I turn it off, of course. But there's not very much on here. They're definitely going to end up being uneven. Like that's obvious already because the spindles don't have a ton on them. But hopefully not super uneven, so I don't have to do a huge time bracelet at the end. I don't really want to do that. I will say my leg is getting very tired, but I don't want to stop with just like with 1 rollag left. That would annoy me so much, and I'd probably end up spinning it near the end of the night. Well, very loopy, and it wouldn't go well. I can picture it very easily because I've done this many times before. So like I kind of want to call it soon, but I don't want to leave it almost finished because it's going to really bug me. So I think I'm just going to try and power through. We'll see. There's only like 1 rollag left. It's really not much. I'm just super tired. Because I don't walk around much, as you can imagine, being a wheelchair user. This is more exercise than my legs usually get, I can tell you that much. That's way too far away. I'm gonna move the computer a bit for a second. See if I can get a slightly better angle. I don't know. I don't know what exactly you would prefer to look at. I also, I assume most of you aren't looking at the screen and just are listening, because that's how I watch streams. And if you're spinning along, then probably mostly looking at your spinning, I assume. So I don't know if it actually matters what I'm pointing at, but I don't, what's the interesting part of a spinning wheel to watch, I feel like I prefer to look at the whole thing and just sort of focus on certain points at certain times. Like I might watch somebody's leg while they treadle for a long time, and then I'll watch the flyer for a long time. At least when I'm sitting across from people in spinning groups, I tend not to look at my own spinning, and I tend to watch other people spin because it's very mesmerizing. But I don't know, because I can't get the whole wheel or the whole spinning wheel in frame along with myself. That's not doable. Because of that, I'm I don't know what part of it to focus on. If anyone ever has requests or wants to see the bobbin or a certain part of the wheel, I'm certainly happy to move it, but I never know. My guess is that as long as it shows a couple of moving parts, it probably doesn't matter. But I also don't want it to be boring. Oh man. I just switched to my right knee, and my right knee is no. Ugh, we're getting there. We're almost done. After this, I'm just going to go lie in bed and probably fall asleep eventually anyway. So I don't really need to, it's not like I have to go finish up a bread dough or something like that. I'm done with the day after this. So I think I can sort of push myself right to the end. We'll see. Hopefully. But this is also the biggest one for whatever reason. I am noticing that I think most of the roll lags I'm spinning quite a bit finer. And given that one of the spindles is fairly thick and one of the spindles is fairly thin, and the inconsistency on that first bobbin, I think I really do need another ply in here. I think it's going to be necessary, one, so that I'm not working with really thin yarn, because I don't necessarily want to do that at the moment. I want this to be more of a worsted weight, ideally, would be best, because a really delicate yarn is not going to work for a cat bed. It needs to be robust. So I'm definitely going to need another ply. I do have some Jacob that I could use, some gray Jacob fleece. And it's very lanolin-y too. But the problem is the lanolin will wash out, because I'm going to have to really scrub this yarn when it's done, because it's so dusty. So the lanolin would wash out if I did that. That's a little sad. I'm going to have to find a way to re-scent this with lanolin before I give it to my cat, because that's the part of it that she really likes smelling. Maybe I'll just stuff it in a bag of fleece for a little bit. That would probably do it. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the Jacob is an option. It's a light gray. It's fairly long, about 5-inch staple length maybe. and it's coarse but very beautiful. The only thing is I'm kind of so I don't know if I will do that. But that's an option. The 7-inch staple length Hampshire is an option. It's not really rough, but it is quite robust. And it's white, which I think might be pretty. Like 2 round plies, 1 white ply. I think that'd be kind of pretty. So there's that. That's really all I can think of that I have a lot of that I might want to use for this. Because most of the other stuff I have is softer or it's been dyed. I definitely don't want to use a naturally dyed thing for this. I think I want to do totally undyed because she's probably going to be chewing and licking it. And I don't know if natural dyes, like items that have been naturally dyed, are food safe. So best to just not, I think. Just avoid that whole issue. Almost done. Got, let's see, that much left. It's so awkward showing off real live. That looks so bad on camera. It's funny when sometimes I post pictures of my dyeing on Tumblr and people are like, that looks disgusting. Because it does, to be fair. Sometimes fiber is really pretty, but sometimes it just looks bad. Usually it's like yarn is fine, but fleece can look pretty iffy. I don't know if you can hear my cat snoring, but she's snoring very loudly right now. Very cute. It's also making me sleepy. I kind of can't wait to do some more natural dyeing. It's been quite a while, like 6 months, I think maybe, which is a long time for me to go without doing any dyeing. I don't know what I'm going to work with though. I noticed that there's a bunch of one of my favorite dye materials, Oregon grapeberries, growing nearby, which they're everywhere here, so that's not surprising, but it's nice that they're like along my apartment. So I'll definitely be able to dye with those, but they won't ripen until it's actually summer. Nice that they're like along my apartment. So I'll definitely be able to dye with those, but they won't ripen until it's actually summer, and that's a ways away. And yeah, I definitely want to dye something before then. I haven't really recognized any other plants around here as being dye materials yet. It's funny, I only moved like 10 minutes, literally a 10-minute bus ride away from the last place I was living, but the plants are totally different. It's like its own little microclimate. It's on the other side of a hill, so it's not shocking. But yeah. And I don't have the buckthorn berries anymore. I'm actually going to ask my sister if she can collect any for me if they're still living there in the summer when they're ripe, because I really want those buckthorn berries. I don't know anywhere else that has buckthorn berries. I love dyeing with buckthorn berries, and I'm kind of pissed that I no longer have access to buckthorn berries. So whatever I can do to fix that, I would really like to. I felt like I was just getting into the good experiments, but the color changes as the buckthorn berries stay on the tree. It gets a little greener and also a little muddier the older it gets. So like the just ripe berries are the most blue, and they're very beautiful. And I was getting somewhere really interesting with it, and then they ripened too much, and I had to stop. So I want to try again. I don't think they will be living there though, so I actually might just like go over and pick them and just bank on somebody not saying anything about it. Because it's not on the property line. It's just outside. It's technically on the street. So I totally could. It would just be really uncomfortably close to somebody's house. We'll have to see. I covet those buckthorn berries. I don't know what to say. On the last little bit of this. Got over 2 hours, which is shocking. It's probably longer than I should be going, but I'm very happy with the progress I've made, so really can't complain. I'm also happy to be almost done. Very tired. I think my cat is very tired and ready for bed. Which is crazy because she has done literally nothing besides sleep all day. She's just been laying next to me asleep like the entire day. I've only gotten up briefly, momentarily, and then right back to sleep. So the fact that she's like still exhausted, it's kind of funny. I feel it though. Last tiny pinch of it. So this only filled up one layer on the bobbin. So you can see the results. Let me move the computer real quick. There we go. So that is the result of those 3 little Rolags, which isn't much compared to this, which is the result of that. But of course, we also have these. So I think cumulatively, yeah, we have 3 spindles as well. Cumulatively, we definitely have more of this first bobbin, but I don't think I'll have to do too much ply braceletting, hopefully. I think I should be able to, I think I'll get away with that and do too much of it. There's nothing worse than like having something so off balance that you like can't even fit it all on your arm. Because that happens to me fairly often, honestly. I'm really not good at balancing them. And it's very annoying, so we just want to avoid that, but just a little bit is okay. All right, I'm just prepping it for next time. I'm not actually going to spin anything. I think we are done for the night. You can see our 2 beautiful bobbins. It was a very good stream. Thank you all for sticking with me, keeping me company. It's very enjoyable. I hope you got some good work on your projects done too, if you were doing projects of your own. I don't know about you, but I felt quite productive on this one. I don't always, but this time, yeah. I'm gonna head out and get some rest. But yeah, take care. Have a good day or night, whatever time it is for you all. Thanks for hanging out with me. Good night.